Hello, I have a video response to Stephen Anthony Smith and Big Perk, Kendrick Perkins, about their comments that if Brunson of the New York Knickerbockers uh, can take that team all the way to the championship, that he would be hands down the greatest Knick that ever played. And I'm basically doing a rebuttal. Now, they specifically mentioned Walt Frazier. They didn't want to hear nothing about Walt Frazier, but the thing is, Walt Frazier led two New York Knicks teams in the 70s to the championship. Walt Frazier has had a number of commercials on TV long after his playing days were over, in particular, one about dyeing your hair, where he says, no play for Mr. Gray, about some guy trying to, you know, be friendly with a lady. But like I was telling a young man, I say two is more than one. Also, there was Willis Reed, who uh, came onto the court after being severely injured, and he only scored 4 points, but he inspired the team. And he actually came from Grambling University, which is a predominantly black university, which Stephen A. Smith is constantly big upping the black universities because he came from. Then there are other Knicks that didn't get to the championship, but were very outstanding. Patrick Ewing, I'm not positive whether he appeared in the finals or at least in the Final Four 3 years in a row. At least one year, Michael Jeffrey Jordan kept him from advancing. Uh, if I remember correctly, maybe Akeem Olajuwon another year. Uh, Canelo or Carmelo Anthony was a prolific scorer uh, for the New York Knicks. So just because Brunson is a shorter guard um, doesn't mean if he wins the whole thing that he would be hands down the best player that the Knicks ever had. Um, Big Perk was talking about uh, uh, someone who led the team. Well, everybody gets some help, and even Brunson has Edward Towns, who's playing well at center. Stephen A. Smith brought up Nate Tiny Archibald, but I believe he said, well, he had a lot of other outstanding players on the Celtics, but nonetheless, he was a smaller guard who played on a championship team. I think eventually someone may have tied Nate Archibald in terms of leading the league, if I remember correctly, in scoring and in assists in the same year. I believe he was the first to do that. Now, somebody told me, and I don't know if it's true, but that Gus Williams of the Seattle Supersonics was a smaller guard that led his team to the championship. And the two that Kendrick Perkins mentioned was um, Isaiah Thomas, and who was the other one? Oh, Steph Curry. Shucks. When you talk about led the team, I mean, Steph Curry had some very outstanding people on his team. He had Klay Thompson, who was an extremely talented three-point shooter and player and defensive player. Draymond Green, a very fine defensive player. Eventually, two of those championships were won with the help of Kevin Durant, one of the most prolific scorers that there ever was. Um, and then, of course, Isaiah Thomas had Dennis Rodman. He had that big, tall, rough and tough Bill Laimbeer, and I'm sure some other help. So it's too bad that a lot of times, whenever somebody new comes onto the scene, that they're supposed to be better than anyone that played before them. You know, so I just thought, oh, now speaking of all of this, I have a video about the Knicks, um, the championship years, the two championships. Um, just click videos and look up and down the list. You should be able to find it. Or if you put Archie Thomas dash Knicks in the YouTube search, you should be able to get it. Then I also did one called ESPN Baltimore Boys, which dealt with a lot of the outstanding players um, from Baltimore, maybe Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia. But it was my comments on the ESPN Baltimore Boys, basketball wise, and I hope you'll give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. That'll help draw some traffic to this. Maybe you could click subscribe and click the bell so that on the few times that I put something new up, that you'll get an alert. Um, but yeah, these guys, they getting beside themselves.